Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Jesse.
How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. It's so good to see you. You look cute as usual.
Thanks. I showered for you today.
You're so kind. You're so kind to
You're
our
welcome.
listeners.
You're welcome, world.
Without smell-o-vision. I feel like we should just spend the entire time, one, talking about your wedding, and maybe can we plan your vow renewal during this?
Oh, sure. By the way, it's
okay?
our 2-month anniversary today.
Yay! Today?
Yeah. I mean,
Happy 2-month anniversary
I know.
to you.
I feel like a changed woman. Not really. I feel like
Well,
I feel like I'm
Mrs.
dying.
One day closer. What was your favorite part
Of the wedding?
of the? How about let's back it up.
Oh, okay.
Of the planning process.
Oh, honestly, like I hated planning our wedding. I mean, I loved it, but I hated it because I am so particular about I'm just a perfectionist,
Right.
and I wanted everything to be perfect. But I was also super nervous because that's what I do, and if people are like, "Whoa, that's too much," or "Ooh, you went there," ugh.
That's super interesting that you say that because I feel like on your wedding day, you're like, oh, things are not going to go exactly as I planned them out and envisioned them for 8 months. Whatever.
No, that's totally true.
You're like, whatever. It's cool. I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah.
Like, more Prosecco. Thanks.
Where's my GD champagne?
Yeah. I'm fine. Actually, I have a balloon.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. There wasn't really one particular favorite part I had, but I think it was just kind of fun, thinking, okay, 10 years ago, if I had planned a wedding, what would it have been like? And it's complete opposite.
Complete opposite.
So I think it was nice to see oh, I've matured personally, but maybe my tastes have not. We've actually reversed.
You're just talking about the balloons.
I'm talking about the balloons.
Yeah. But I feel like they're very sophisticated balloons.
Listen, those were, yeah. It wasn't a balloon arch.
And it wasn't like
somebody
red,
said it was
yellow, green, blue. No. It wasn't like Hannah's 5th birthday bonanza. It was
Although I did call it Balloonapalooza.
You did. It was sophisticated.
It was.
White, off-white.
I know.
Light white.
I love the balloons.
Pale white and clear balloons.
I wish I could have taken most of those home.
Did you take any?
I took 2 of those confetti-filled ones.
Which were awesome.
And I saved the confetti.
Were those a
Jason
surprise,
doesn't know
or
that.
did you know?
She said she had some extra balloons that she was going to throw in there as a surprise because I'm the first look could be, I don't do the whole, I don't know. It was windy. I thought it'd be weird to just try to walk up and don't look at me, but.
Yeah.
It
It was perfect.
The idea of that.
And Judd captured it amazingly.
They were twisted. There's a photo of me oh my God, the balloons. I'm more concerned about the balloons.
Yes.
That was my priority.
Meanwhile, gusts of wind, and you're like, whatever.
I know. Oh, yeah. My mom's like, those photos look great of you with your hair blowing back. I'm like, no, lady, I couldn't see.
But at least you did an updo.
That's true.
What if you had curls? I can't even picture you like that, but curls, and then it'd be
all over the place.
Get stuck in your lip gloss. Your fake lashes get pulled out.
They did.
They did.
Oh, did you not know that?
No.
So during the first look, there was a particular that wind where it pulled all the balloons and tied them. I'm like, ow, something is in my eye. Jason's like, that's one of your fake eyelashes. I'm like, jeez.
Hot mess.
It was so bad. Get these things off of me.
I'm pretty certain for a second.
They lasted right through dinner, right after our toast, or me and Jason's toast.
Actually, I feel I don't know if you've had this experience at weddings, but I feel there's at least 2 or 3 weddings this season where the last job was not great.
Subpar.
And before they walked down the aisle, I'm like, you look great, except for...
Can I just take this off? Yeah. Jason said when I got up to the altar, he was like, I could see some of your... I was like, I mean, that's because I was epically crying, too.
Yeah.
And, speed walking down the aisle.
Yeah, you did walk
Also
really
not
fast.
my favorite part.
Oh.
I felt bad.
You're so nervous.
I was so nervous. Well, you saw me. I was fine up until, that particular moment.
Yeah.
Just get me
I know,
here.
because you were like, okay, do I go? Do I go? And everyone's like, no, your bridal party goes first. Just hold on. But should I go? No, Hannah. Your shoes are off. You can take your time now.
Oh, God, I took my shoes off.
Why not?
I know. Those shoes hurt so bad.
Do you feel like you were moderately buzzed?
No, because I didn't really, I barely finished a glass of champagne before the ceremony.
Maybe it was on purpose that, it took so long for you to get your Prosecco. You
I think
know?
it was a good idea.
Like, oh, Hannah wants it now, but
No, I
it's
think that was a good idea.
11.
Well, like the salon was supposed to offer us a class, and like we got there, and I didn't even think about it. I'm like, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
And
then I'll
maybe,
just be like hyperactive.
yeah, or me take a nap.
Yeah, that's also
I'd
true.
be like, delicious.
I was like, oh, I'm going back to my house. Great, I'm just gonna sleep.
Yeah. I gotta wash my face first.
I
It's
know.
like, no.
I need to pull up my eyelashes first.
Yes. Okay, so what was your favorite part of the day? I mean, multiple parts, but
Definitely the balloons. I don't know.
definitely the balloons. Which part of the balloons? Because you had them for your backdrop,
I
you
know.
had them as
They were
part
a
of
bit
your
aggressive.
reception decor, and like magically there was a balloon drop during your first dance.
I know. Thank you for that.
So fun.
I don't know. I mean, the backdrop was kind of cool because it was just like floating.
Yes.
But honestly, like the overhead, I don't like S-curve, whatever it was. That whole overhead thing was just
Installation.
so cool.
I'll put pictures in the show notes because everyone's like, "Oh, balloons! That sounds pretty."
I know. That's why, like, my family kept asking, like, "Oh, what's your theme?" My mom kept saying balloons. I'm like, "Lady, first of all, not your wedding. You don't need to share details. Also, people can really misconstrue what balloons might look like.
They're like, "Oh, so it's
Balloon
fine to wear
arches,
bibs,
big
to your wedding?"
animals." Yeah. I know.
Somebody
Somebody was like, "Are you gonna have like somebody make balloon animals?" I'm like, "Are you kidding?" Yes, but no.
Not the kind of balloon animals you're
No.
thinking.
For our 1 year
Snowmen.
anniversary,
1,
for
2,
sure,
3.
I'll have animals.
Just saying. Yeah. Well, I feel like Machine Shop does allow animals because they have.
They
Have you
did have
been there
that.
where they have
Yes,
the puppies
I know.
for the adoption?
I was talking to Jessica the other day. I'm like, I want them all. Give me
Puppies,
all the puppies.
puppies.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We just emailed a breeder for a Vizsla, and I was like,
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really exciting.
I know it's a little ridiculous.
You're just doing the traditional. Wait, did you guys move in together before you got married?
We lived in sin, yes.
Because I feel like that's traditional, though. That's the new traditional,
I
is that
know.
you meet someone that you really like, and you're like, should we live together? Because 2 runs is stupid. And then you are like, oh, should we also get married?
Yeah.
Common law is not a real thing,
I know.
actually. And then after you get married.
Welcome to 2017.
Yeah.
Either you
Apparently
live alone
that's
or
from
you get married.
1792. And then you get a dog.
Yeah.
That's the steps.
I feel like that's a life cycle now.
Right?
People keep saying don't get a dog. I'm like,
And then maybe in like 5 years, that's when you start thinking about kids.
about 40? Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Maybe adoption.
Maybe 5 years is
Or maybe I'll just
excessive.
get all the dogs.
Yeah. These are my children.
I know. Although people do keep asking, when are you guys having kids? I'm like, friends.
Just got
married.
It
Yeah.
just happened last month, 2 months
Yeah.
ago.
I know. Like,
Today.
I'm sorry that I can't fulfill your need for you on your 4th child. But thank you for asking me.
I always think maybe this is like getting too far ahead. Like our listeners are like, but I'm just planning my wedding. Please don't talk about babies. But I always feel like, what if you can't have a baby? Like, what
know,
if you
why do
can't?
people
Like, that's kind of a
assume?
really forward question.
Yes.
That's like when you see someone postpartum and you're like, oh, you're pregnant. And they're like, no, I just was pregnant. It doesn't disappear like in the
And
magazines.
I don't just get thin.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, back on track.
Yeah, sorry.
So let's talk about you planning your own wedding. You as a wedding planner planning your own wedding. What are the things that you felt like you already knew were top priority and you were like, I got to book this vendor right away?
Well, venue for sure. I mean,
Yep.
to be honest, we booked the venue a year before our wedding, but like 2 months before we actually got engaged. 'Cause
And
I'm
that's
like,
before Machine Shop was even
they had
open.
that was their first year.
okay.
Wait,
Like when
Yeah,
you booked it,
it was
they
like-
hadn't opened yet, or they were?
they had October.
Okay.
Yeah, they had just opened. I think in like June of 2016.
Okay.
Wait, what year? Yeah, 2016.
I don't know.
I don't know anymore.
Today.
Yeah, today. Yeah, exactly. So that was important,
And
then
that's before you got engaged, because I also
Yeah.
did the same thing.
yeah,
I was like, honey, you don't have to propose yet, but I need this venue.
I know, but like I'd like to get some things figured out. I don't know. Really, what was important was, oh man, honestly, it was the venue. But
And then
the-
everything else
everything kind of fell into place. But like, yeah,
like catering, right? Because then Machine Shop is open.
yeah, they
But
had
preferred.
they had a preferred, but they had like a no minimum, which was so great because we only had 106 people. So I'm like, ooh, I don't want to have a like minimum 10,000 for 100 people.
Right. And you're like, everybody gets fillets.
Oh God. Although the bar tab, it did feel like everybody got a lot of things.
Everybody gets filet drinks.
Yeah. There wasn't much else that was like super like needed to get done before anything else. I don't know, personally. I don't recommend that. Like, I feel like you should definitely figure out a few things first, like photographers.
Yeah, and I think it helps too because you already knew vendors. So I feel like a lot of brides and grooms are coming into super blind, right? They're like, okay, a wedding, like what is that?
Like, what does it
does it entail?
cost?
Who are the people?
Yeah.
Like, who are the people? Like, can't our venue just do all of the things?
Right, and I think there's a huge misconception. Like, you go to a social club or like a country club, and a lot of them have like an in-house, day of, coordinator who will give you vendor lists, but they're not going to say like, I can't, I don't know their prices totally. Like, that's kind of like out of the realm of my qualifications. That's why you hire somebody else.
Also, those places will give you a preferred list, and I think it's like a really important clarification that not all preferred vendor lists are just because they prefer them. Some of them are because they pay.
Because they get some kickback.
They pay to be on that list.
Yeah.
And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that.
No, but if it's somebody that you, like if it's a list of people that you just realize, man, I can't afford them, which is a possibility. Right. Or B, they just don't fit my aesthetic.
Vibe with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a list that people are on. There's a ton of vendors out in the whole wide world.
.com.
I know.
There's a lot of those.
It has a lot. And I think a second thing, I think I said this on a previous episode, maybe the one with Jay, but on the Knot, there's like that first page and it's like picture of people or picture of the vendors, and it says like premium. Is that what it says?
Yes.
Those are people who pay extra to get on the top row.
It's like that it's their Google search.
Yes.
Yep.
When it's like ad. And then there the people with pictures. Those are also people who pay to get a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like 18 more pages. Those are all still fine vendors.
I know.
They just are like, no thanks, not.
Like, just because you don't want to spend 10 grand on flowers doesn't mean you're going to get somebody who's crummy.
Right.
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 That's not to swear.
Crummy.
Oh my God, what of my mother?
One time I looked up like a list of old-timey swear words just for when I post on Facebook because my mom or my grandma might see it.
I know.
And I just want to be respectful of their perception of who I am.
I mean,
which is not a swearing, bad potty mouth.
If they don't know me by now, then I don't know.
Got another thing coming to you.
Another 35 years of that.
Yeah,
maybe.
35 years.
God willing, I guess. Chase doesn't kill me before that.
I know. Well, we'll see how the puppy adoption goes.
And most would be like, stop talking about balloons.
It's not called adoption.
No, we would be buying.
You're buying.
I know. But I give to Beagle Freedom Project every month. I do. I love beagles. I hate how much they shed. So I was like, no can do. I can't have this in my house.
What's a Vizsla?
Those like tan hunting dogs.
Yeah, I think my friends have one of those.
They're like super hyperactive, but they will also nap for 4 hours.
Aww.
They're super cute. This is probably like too much information, but they don't have smelly glands. Like they don't stink when they get dirty. So I was like, oh, bonus.
I had a dog when I was growing up. It was a German Shepherd mixed lab, Yankee, and she smelled like
when
butthole.
They're wet.
She smelled so horrible, and I talk about it all the time to my parents, and they're like, "Oh, don't be so hard." I'm like, "You guys, that's the only memory I have of her, that she smells really bad, and that one time I walked her and she drugged me in the gravel, and I got like road burn."
Ouch.
Two memories. That's great.
Yeah.
4 years old, scarred for life.
Now I hate all dogs.
Yes. Okay, so tangents. This is going to be an episode filled with tangents.
I like that.
Disclaimer. You picked your venue first.
Yes.
How did you choose that venue? Being that you probably know all the venues in Minnesota.
A fair amount.
To be honest.
Jason did not want like a country club setting, which I was totally fine with. I think
why?
He's a laid back, like loves old buildings.
Yeah.
Super casual. I don't know. I loved like the historical aspect of it, and that like old meets new. But to be perfectly honest, when I went in there, I saw the bathrooms. I was like, I'm sold. They had like 6 stalls,
and they're sparkly,
and they're clean, and
there's lots of mirrors.
Lighting. Yeah.
Yes.
The bathrooms
all the
were
things
like
that are
seriously
important.
key. Plus, it was like all in one. I didn't want to do
your
a
reception's
ceremony somewhere
different.
else and
Yeah.
like transportation and I don't know. Like I just make it easy on your guests, but make it easy on you.
Right. Okay, so let's just talk like really bluntly. Like maybe some people would see a few drawbacks in a downtown wedding venue.
Yep.
I guess it's not really downtown
Well,
St. Anthony, Maine
yeah.
neighborhood, but parking.
Parking.
What did you like? What were your thoughts about parking? What did you end up
Well,
coming to an
because
agreement
there are
with?
so few people invited, I was like, well, we don't need a valet. Also,
Right.
because there's a parking lot across the street.
Yeah.
I think most people in our generation now use Uber or
Right,
some form of
Right.
public
so it was like just
transportation.
pay for your own parking.
It was a
you'll be
$4
fine.
lot,
Right.
and then like if you parked past
Or
midnight,
the ramp
yeah,
was like $5. I think
it was
that's
super
what I
cheap.
paid.
It was like $8 to park
Park.
overnight.
Yeah.
And like people, this is gonna sound really shitty. It's like we're hosting you, and I want you to be here, but like if you get upset about paying $6 to park for 10 hours, not my problem.
maybe we're not great
Then
friends.
maybe we're not good friends.
like well, it's true.
But
Like,
yeah.
I mean, and it is a little different because it's not right downtown where it's like maybe you would pay $10, $15, or
Yes.
St. Paul
Yep. Or like at a
$20.
hotel where you don't even like it could be
$25 for the
Yes,
night.
on events. Yeah, and it was like a Gopher weekend, also a Vikings weekend, so like things could easily
Right.
have gone
More.
skyrocketing. But for 100 people, I was like, oh, whatever. Like
It'll be fine.
It's fine.
I think that's a good mindset to have because I feel like sometimes people get really stuck in that part of their guest experience.
Mhm.
I always, and I'm sure you do too, want brides and grooms to be mindful that if you're picking a place that doesn't include parking, that you just need to know what the options are and
Yes.
communicate that to your
Like
guests.
if there wasn't a parking lot across the street, then I would have figured out, okay, can we rent out like part of the ramp further, or like does the valet service that we can hire, do they bring it to a certain place where we know
Is
cars
there
are
a
safe?
shuttle?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And a lot of places do offer shuttles.
Yeah, a lot of hotels
Downtown, it's
do.
like 5 mile
Yep.
radius.
Yep.
A loft or a loft or whatever.
I,
that-
how does
what that
I don't
is.
even know how it's
A-loft?
pronounced. Aloft, aloft,
A loft. Al. Oft. Aloft.
aloft.
Okay, so
lofted.
parking. What are I lofted. What are the other things? So, what about just in general guests finding the venue? Did you have any qualms about that?
Well, I mean, yes, but only because like people just got lazy and chose not to read the back of the invitation when it gave like
That's true.
explicit instructions coming from the south and
Yeah.
west, where most of the people we know live.
Right.
Or if they flew in, like you just
You
take
just
a
have a
cab. I don't know,
phone.
or have a phone. I know
Mhm.
that's the
So I feel like that's a changed perspective,
Yeah.
right? It used to be where you'd really need to tell
I
your guests
print off like
where you're
Google
going.
Maps.
Yes.
Where am I going?
Yes, but now most people can figure it out.
Yeah, and that's with like Uber. I mean, they automatically type it in. They know where
Right.
they're going. There's no question for the the person.
Right. Okay, and then let's talk about this. And just all honesty, I feel like this was something that you had planned and that didn't quite get like executed. But I don't know if you noticed, and I'm just like telling you about it now, or if it mattered. So you really wanted the venue to be closed so that all the vendors could finish getting ready.
Yep.
And then at a certain time, like 30 minutes before the ceremony, the doors would open, guests could come in, and then like 2 minutes, 5 minutes before the ceremony, doors are
Shut
closed.
those doors.
And people can't just like sneak in rudely and kind of
Yep.
be a distraction away from the ceremony, which is the whole reason why people are there.
Which I should preface that is like an expectation that is not always met, and people should not expect that to be met. I'm just
But it didn't
POS
happen.
and just-
Did you notice?
no.
Oh, okay, good. There like 4 people came in late.
Oh, I know who they were.
Oh,
Yeah, they were my
ah.
parents' friends
okay.
and like one relative or something.
Yeah.
And I was like,
whatever.
seriously?
Did you notice during the ceremony?
No.
Okay, so you just knew that it happened.
Well, I knew only because my mom was like, I think so and so's here. I'm like, great, but you're here. You like you can't be wandering around.
Right.
And then I think she left for a few minutes. And I'm like,
Whatever. Come
okay,
back.
whatever, Nancy.
Even during the ceremony, people walked in.
Oh,
I know. I felt so uncomfortable about it. I was
what?
like, D-name. I was like, don't let people in. And he was like, they're coming in. I was like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable.
It's funny on the video that Judd sent me, where it's like the full 40 minute of the whole ceremony. I think I can see a couple people sitting down,
They sat in the back.
Yeah, they better have.
Yeah. I know. I know. I was like, Hannah's not going to like this. But
luckily, I was
she didn't know.
Like crying Niagara Falls and probably couldn't even see them at that
giggling.
point.
But I think
And
that's a
giggling.
good point, right? Like you have this like plan, but you didn't know it didn't get
Even though we had
followed, and it
also
was
like
okay.
on our invitations
Said
on our website, like please don't
late.
come early. Also, but like
Oh,
don't
yeah.
come late too.
Yeah.
But the late thing. Traffic on we got married on a Friday afternoon, so and it was MEA weekend, so like parents probably had to figure out their kids, and we knew that, and like that probably wouldn't have bothered me as much. I think it was mostly like people coming early because I don't know, what are you gonna do an hour and a half before the ceremony,
right? And
like
people
what are you doing?
don't get when brides and grooms, when you're planning your wedding and you're like, okay, well, people will show up like before the ceremony. What does that mean? Let us tell you what it means.
Right.
It means anywhere from 30 to an hour and 15 minutes early,
Yep.
especially if you have family and you're doing family photos before the ceremony. Those people that are in those pictures are going to be there, and they're going to be standing around, and they're going to be nosy.
Yep.
They're going to be inquisitive. And
they're going to attempt to offer you to help you put all the place cards of 325 people and then want to take their own name and then ask me, do you need help? It's like, no, I need you to just back off.
Can you just not touch them?
Yeah.
So just be mindful that you should either give them something to do.
Right.
Or
do you need to have 40 people in your family photos? But whatever.
I know.
Teach his own.
Big families are tough.
I eliminated that process with my mom. I was like, listen, not all of our family's going to be here.
Right.
I'm not having these awkward, like, half family
Half a
photos.
family.
But also, just don't care.
It's
like,
okay.
I like my aunts and uncles. They're not.
We're the same.
This is going to come to haunt me for sure.
I need a picture. It's like, okay, how about I just be in the moment and have the memory?
Right. Like, also, you have all freaking night to come talk to me. Like, I'll take a photo with you.
8 hours.
Doesn't need to be before the ceremony.
Yes, that is really tricky.
Or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell people, like, especially if you do large family photos ahead of time. But it's also hard to tell, like, you got to communicate with the security staff sometimes, too.
Right, if you have it.
If you have it, yeah. I mean, I feel like most places should have it now.
Barn venues, people are just going to mill around.
I know, that's true.
Barn venues are really tough, my friend.
Or have a sign. Like, have a sign outside saying, like, we're excited to have you, but we're still getting, we're still getting ready. Our vendors are still getting ready.
Yep.
Like, what do you need to do for an hour and a half ahead of time?
Yep.
Go to a bar? I mean, that's what half my
it's
friends
good
did.
to have,
That's what I did for their
especially
weddings.
downtown, you have a lot of options. But if it's, let's say it's an outdoor venue, we're just
spitballing here.
Yeah. Let's say it's an outdoor venue and people are getting there an hour early. Specifically, I'm thinking about Legacy, where the layout, you come up and like you can just kind of see everything. Right. So where are people going to go? I mean, definitely close off the doors for your reception if you don't want people to see it, sit in it, touch it, like do stuff early. But then what if it's really hot?
I know.
Your guests have to go somewhere if it's hot. It's just, that's almost like a medical thing.
I know.
You don't want people dropping like flies. What if it's raining? People also don't want to just stand outside if it's raining. They don't.
Sit in the car.
I know.
I guess
but
like I have these
think about.
expectations that like your guests will go, it's their day. Like we don't, we're honored to be here. Like I don't want to, overstay my welcome by showing up, at 4:00 in the morning.
Right.
But I don't know.
I'm here. Oh my gosh, let me see you. It's like,
no.
We're doing other stuff.
Get off of me.
Yes. But just
give me my champagne and let me be. Cripes.
It's good to be mindful that could happen. And it's not necessarily a good option either to be like, okay, we're going to open the bar early. Because then...
And that, it's funny, like, even though we wanted everything in one location, then I can kind of see benefits of having a ceremony off-site, too.
Or having a ceremony at, like, a church. I feel like that's such a great...
It is. And people,
option.
There's definitely, like, areas to,
that they can hang out. They're not going to see the reception.
Nope.
They'll feel comfortable, like, milling about because you don't care. It's like, this is the church's stuff. It's not my stuff.
Exactly.
And then there's, like, a separate room where you're getting married in, so you can keep those doors shut and then open them, but there's enough room, and there's bathrooms, and there's drinking fountains.
I think there's, like, downsides,
parking.
plus sides to both on-site and off-site.
Right. And it'd be different. Yeah. I don't know. There's so many
factors. But also,
factors.
like, if somebody does say on their invite, like, please don't show up early. Just don't do it.
Probably not do it.
Just don't do it.
Or if you get there early, like my dad would be like, we're an hour early. Let's go to a bar.
Right.
1 round on me.
I know.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Can you come to all my weddings?
I know.
Okay, so how? Let's just move right
Jump back
along.
in.
How? I feel like we should explain the balloon thing more. I mean, people just have to go in the show notes to see pictures.
Yeah.
Preston will give us permission, right? I asked him for permission.
Did he give you yet?
No.
I haven't even gotten my USB of all the
We'll
images.
ask him again.
Yeah.
Preston, we're calling you out. Presty. Okay, so we'll ask him, and so then we can share with the world pictures of your balloons. But how did you decide on balloons? I feel like it's really difficult to decide on like a design element for your wedding if you're not thinking of a color scheme, right? As soon as you like pick a color, you're like, we want eggplant. Then that can like dictate everything else. But you didn't really have a color.
No, I mean
It was more like white.
It was like white, gold,
greenery,
green and blue. Yeah, I don't know.
Navy.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really like. That was more like an accent.
Yep. We didn't really have a statement like color scheme because I think Jason's just like, I have no idea what to tell you, you know, which is just fine. Part of me was like, I don't want your opinion, but I mean, I feel like I'm obligated to ask you, but I don't want it anyway.
I'm just being nice.
Yeah. He at least was like, I'm going to wear navy blue suits. I'm like, okay.
Perfect.
And I'm going to wear a vest and nobody else is. Great.
Perfect.
We've got that down.
And do you want a boutonniere? And now we're done with your decision process.
Exactly. And now we're over it. The balloons. Well, you know me now. I'm so
You're fun and flirty.
Crazy.
That's your deal.
I know. I kept calling myself a child bride. I was like, who wants balloons? I just wanted some form of statement without like just being. I wanted something different.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't want it to be a circus, but I also didn't think like that's how it was going to happen either.
No, it was so elegant.
But I just wanted something fun and like whimsical, and for somebody to say, that was a great wedding, and it was fun to see that it, was like your personality.
I've never seen that before.
And I've seen like some of them where they just hang over the head table, but I thought, okay, like that's cool, but I'm an understated person in some respects of my life and personality. But otherwise, like, I'm just, a foul-mouthed, lively, eccentric person. And yeah, exactly. Like, there's some things spinning. I'm not sure if they're on the right track sometimes, but I don't know. I loved the balloons, man.
Right. And so then the other benefit was that there is a vendor in Minnesota that does balloons well, because there's no way in hell that you could have done that on your own.
No,
or with friends.
It's funny. My dad and I, like 6 months leading up to this, I think it was right before we booked the vendor, Girl Friday Creative, #.
Woot, woot.
Yeah. My dad and I were like, okay, so we can get like a bunch of balloons and like all the groomsmen can blow them up. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's great. Like, you guys do that because you'll need something to do all day. Sure. And then I'm like, you know what? That may be a little out of hand. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
And then what?
And then I realized there's no way that's, like, they have to start 3 weeks ahead of time.
Yes.
They'd all be dead.
And Girl Friday, like, kept rolling in, like, moving trucks full of balloons.
I think they had, like, 6 moving trucks.
And the installation took, like, 5 hours.
Yeah. Because she showed up at 10, a little before 10.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
And was done.
And they had like a crew of half a dozen people.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that she brings snacks with, which is adorable.
Oh, heavy. That's awesome.
They had like totes full of candy and like gummy bears, pretzels, Cheez-Its.
That's smart.
It was.
I know she started like filling them up the night before too, because she was showing me sending me photos of like the trucks.
Yeah, they all came pre-blown.
Yeah, I know.
And then she was like, I always bring extras too. Like, she's a professional. She knows what balloons are like. So if like DIYing that, you wouldn't know all these things that Carly knows about balloons,
and you also
how fragile they are, and the temperature.
You wouldn't get
humidity.
what you're expecting either,
right?
I mean, there was just there's no way.
It was huge pieces, and they're heavy actually.
I know
she
when I walked in and
help.
like they were just like raising, I'm like, this is amazing,
amazing.
It was so much fun,
and too, since Carly does like all these big design installations, I think that between her and then Christy, they really had like good design contributions last minute for like the little layout tweaks.
Yep.
Which you wouldn't get, especially
if I was doing
if your florist is just like, oh, I'm just dropping off the flowers.
Yeah.
And then if you blow up your own balloons.
No, Christy and Carly worked really close together.
Yeah,
which
and
was good.
It looked amazing.
I know.
It was a
much
good
fun.
combination. It was like, it was like an elements wedding because you had like candles down the aisle. So it was fire in water vases, water, air in the balloons, and then and earth, the flowers, because you have lots of greenery. You're like a Captain
Actually,
America.
the earth came from like all the dirt that my dress was covered in.
Yes.
That's where that came from.
Did you get your dress cleaned yet?
No.
Are you going to?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I mean,
I got
what
the
are you gonna do
reception
with it?
outfit cleaned.
Cute.
Yeah.
I love that you did that.
I'm so glad I changed.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Sometimes
didn't want to be like that person, but I also was like, it also ended up being 85 degrees.
It was
and
hot.
I was so warm.
It's good to have two options, especially if you save money like you did on your option, and it's not like, oh, I bought two $5,000 dresses.
I'm just, if I had one word of advice for brides, don't spend thousands of dollars on a dress. You'll wear it once.
Right.
You don't need to have that thing preserved on a mannequin.
Right.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
But
Like, it sounds crazy.
I know.
But if you did that, kudos. Moving on.
Yeah. But if I do it, it's totally okay. Totally okay.
Okay, so you have images of your day, but a little thing called Judd Nichols captured everything on video.
He did.
And I feel like some brides and grooms are on the fence. They're like, well, we don't know if it's in our budget. It's not really super important to us. I got video of my wedding and I find value in it. You also
I do.
find value.
A lot of that was a blur, like the ceremony especially.
It was so quick.
It was so quick, and that, we didn't want a long, drawn-out ceremony. But I also just was so overwhelmed with like emotion that I don't remember much. I mean, I remember looking at Jason and like he started to cry. I mean, I had already been crying. I kind of remember like almost getting hit in the face with the microphone from our officiant, which is like still one of my favorite things. But it was nice to see and like relive the ceremony and all of the speeches.
Right.
And just also have like some of those fun candid moments with movement.
Right.
Like the balloons getting caught and spinning, or like when the dog came out and like we're all like, oh my God, the dog is out here? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, let's
And
talk
instead of
about
just-
that because people are
yeah.
like, a dog, your dog,
No,
the dog,
not our
is
dog.
the dog like part of the Gophers or like what?
I know, Georgia Bulldog dog. No, so when we were doing our photos, one of the apartment complexes behind Machine Shop, there was a woman on her balcony, and like she clearly saw us, and she's like, "Congratulations, happy wedding day!" And I'm like, "Thanks." And, like for a brief moment, I'm like, "I'm just gonna see if she has champagne." So I scream up like, "Do you have any champagne?" She disappears, and I was like, "All right, well, it was worth a
Just
shot."
being regular,
I know.
Hannah.
So 3 minutes later, this woman comes down with her dog and a bottle of champagne and a bunch of little
That's
champagne
so
glasses.
nice.
And she was like, "I hope you don't mind, it's Cook's." I was like, whoa, Nelly. First of all,
That's so
you
nice.
have champagne for a random bride, which she then said, "We see so many brides every weekend. We always
Oh.
say hi and nobody says hi back." She's like, "I just felt like somebody said hello back. I've got to do something." And then the dog. I was like, this dog was so docile.
It's a black lab.
It was
right?
like a bully lab something
Okay.
mix.
Okay.
MN Roadship is his name on Instagram. I have since found out. And yeah, I fed the dog champagne. It was it was so
It's so
random, but I
cute.
kind of loved it because I also. This sounds really snotty. I was kind of like over being outside at that point. It was so windy. It
Right.
was really
It was
hot.
really windy.
I just wanted like a quick break.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get that.
and like some reprieve
Yeah.
where you could just not have a moment alone
No, but just,
necessarily,
like, calm
like
down.
removed from the wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
Stop being like the posing, and I just needed to gather myself for
Right.
like a quick second.
I
And
feel
that
like
dog
it's-
was so
and
great.
it's so perfect in the video. Like you can like that totally sums up your personality,
know.
like fun and flirty,
I
right?
know.
Just as like super child bride
Oh no, absolutely.
moment, which I'm gonna use that keyword and we'll see what happens. The show notes.
I feel like that's not going to end well, but I'll
Ian,
let you do that.
Ian and I were talking about
Yeah.
like getting flagged for certain words.
yeah.
That's gonna be a flag.
I think that's gonna major flag.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, equal opportunity.
So that was the dog.
Okay, I love that story.
I know.
And I can't wait for listeners to watch the video because it's so cute. And Judd did a really great job.
I'm so glad he was there.
Yes, and he was so chill. I feel like he was really good at being like kind of behind the scenes too.
Very much so.
Which maybe that's one of the things that keep brides and grooms from wanting to hire a videographer is they are perhaps more introverted, and they're like, well, I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't want a camera in my face the whole day. Like, what if I don't like how I look? Like, I'm just going to be so self-conscious, and I just want to enjoy my day. But I personally
I highly recommend
have
it.
zero memories of my videographer like being anywhere
No.
except for when my husband and I did the photo booth with them.
Yep.
Because I had a photo booth because I got married 5 years ago, and so I'm like really
I love
outdated
photo
bride.
booth. That was like, it was balloons or photo booth for me.
Toss up.
Toss up.
But fortunately, people have phones now
I know.
that they take pictures on.
Yeah. Or, a photographer.
Or photographer.
Yeah.
Or videographer.
Or the videographer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they really do a great job of blending into the background.
They do.
And then you don't really notice them there, and they capture such good memories.
Well, I forgot that he was there. He'd set up the tripod at the back of the dance floor. And so when Jason and I had our first dance right before that balloon drop, I kind of forgot that the camera was there, which I'm glad it was, because otherwise still photos are great, but they don't really capture like my awkward, oh my God.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yes, I totally agree.
I just
totally
think like the
agree.
movement in the video is kind of cool. I mean, you see a lot of those photos come to life now.
Yep, and like you feel it more.
Mhm.
You feel
Yeah,
it more.
I know. I get emotional every time I watch the speeches.
I love speeches.
I do too.
And
I'm so glad we
there's
had just
no-
our brothers do it too.
right, and there's no way to relive the
No.
speeches through pictures.
So my mom goes, "Did they all give you like their copies of their speeches?" I'm like, "No, why would they? Like, I don't need to have that in writing. Like,
And then
no
didn't you frame
offense."
it?
Yeah, that's what she was
Isn't it sitting in
expecting.
the
I was
kitchen?
like, "No, my brother threw his like tiny 2x4 note cards at me at the dinner table."
Like,
yeah,
an awkward mic drop.
I know. Seriously, yeah,
As the paper goes.
yeah. After he definitely said the word soul in his speech, I was like, "Oh boy." Let's see how
That's
this is
great.
gonna go. I
That's good.
appreciate it.
I like that
Yeah.
stuff.
But it was
Candid.
it was fun reliving the speeches, rewatching the speeches.
Agreed. But
Worth
the
it.
pictures are good too. How did you pick Preston? Did you take pictures? Your engagement pictures are adorable.
They're fun. It was also hot that day.
Did you took them with him, but is that kind of what clinched your decision
No.
to book him? You had already decided. You're
I have known
gung-ho.
Preston for the better part of 7-8 years.
Okay.
He's done a couple friends' weddings. He actually did my cousin's wedding the month before ours.
And that's how you kind of picked him.
Yeah, and I just like we got along really well.
Right.
He and I we clicked like years ago, and it was more like as much as I love photos, or not like I mean I don't love photos of myself, but as much as I like love the idea of like having our day captured, I did want to spend months searching for the perfect photographer. When I'm like, we've got one right here.
We get along.
He emailed me immediately after we got engaged. He was like, listen,
Yeah.
don't commit, but like I would love to talk to you and I'd love to meet Jason and just
Yeah.
like, shoot the shit with you. Sorry, whatever. I don't really care.
Everyone, we have to support Hannah and tell her that it's okay to say shit.
You're in a safe place.
You're in a safe place.
Yes. I don't know. I just like, and Jason's like, I don't know, like these vendors. He's like, I just want to be there for the food. Like, I want to make sure that like I get to pick the food. And I said, you know what? That is a great compromise.
And it
'Cause
was
I will
great
forget
food,
to eat
so
anyway. So
Good job, Jason.
That was good food.
It was great food
And-
and excellent staff. And I think
know.
that okay, nowadays most wedding caterers are good. Most of them. Like
Mhm.
I really have only had one negative experience, and maybe I could have seen it coming. But really they're good.
Yep.
So it's not about the quality of the food. I think it's about the quality of the service.
Yep.
How many servers are you having? Are they clearing tables? Is there tableside water
Yes.
available?
Are they
for
pulling
guests?
people's drinks away just because they're not there? Like,
Right. Are they
yeah.
going to be like, okay, we're done serving dinner. Now we have to clean up. Now we got to get out of here. Now we got to do dessert so then we can be done and we're going to clear all the plates, because that is like deterrent for your guests
Well, it's
to
like a
want to
restaurant.
stay.
Like I don't want somebody to clear my plate and then 10 other people are
Right,
still eating. It's
right.
like, no.
And it's kind of how, right, like the server that comes by and is like, I'm just going to set this here. Like, don't rush. Take your time. Like, that's great.
Mhm.
Thank you. Because what if we are done?
What if we
you
are
don't
done
know.
or what if we don't? We're
But
not
the
done.
server that's like, and here's your bill. And you're like, first bite of dinner. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'm out.
So you're leaving. You want us to give you a tip because
Can
this
I
is
give
not the
us a
best
to-go
way.
box? Right, exactly.
So it's kind of like, what kind of experience you want your guests to have. Also you. And then I think the other thing to think about when you're picking like a caterer, I feel like this is a really great question to ask. Do you serve the bride and groom first and then listen to the answer? The answer should be yes.
Yes.
But are they going to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait to do entrees if you are off talking to people and not sitting down and eating? Because that could mean 45 minutes.
Right.
This is a real story. 45 minutes in between when salads get dropped and entrees. And that's atrocious.
That's aggressive.
Like the food's already ready,
Cold
made, and
yeah.
like waiting. So
yeah.
are they going to come up to you and be like, hey, bride, your guests are hungry?
No, actually, that's when you have a day of coordinator to say, like, hey, listen, I
Hey,
know you want to
catering.
go and talk to, like, every table, but, like, here's the thing.
Take one bite.
Right. You've hired us. Like, we're cooking kind of, like, not time is of the essence, but specifically you need to get your food out. And
Right.
not, you know,
Right.
even though we just had, like, an hour-long cocktail hour with, or appetizers.
Right. People don't care about that
Right.
food.
People want to sit for 25 minutes, have a salad, chat, and then people want to eat their meal
dinner.
and chat.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. Day of coordinator keeps an eye on the timeline.
Yep.
And then can say, which was the instance, like someone came out and was like, hey, like we haven't gotten entrees yet. And I was like, what the what? Like, you haven't gotten entrees yet? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then figure out what was happening and be like, push dinner. Like, guests are going to leave.
I know.
Hurry up. But sometimes there's just that little communication deal. And that is super polite to, like, wait for the bride and groom to eat.
I think
but
so.
not to the detriment of
Everybody else. No.
Sorry.
Sorry, friends.
Sorry, brides. You're only so important.
For like a minute.
Just kidding. You're
Till
really
midnight.
important. Please
Or
hire
till
me.
the venue kicks you out. Yeah, please hire me.
Please be my friend.
Hashtag,
Okay,
please hire
so you were saying that you weren't head over heels with your planning process because you were a difficult bride.
Well, in Jason's eyes, for sure. I am of the belief that, like, why spend the entirety of your engagement planning the whole thing when you take care of, like, the biggest things? Like, you get your caterer, you get your venue, and you get some of the other venues, like, figured out in the first couple months. I mean, this is depending upon, like, are you rushing an engagement in 5 months, or do you have a year and a half? But
Right.
I
Book
don't
some
know.
of the big guys and then work on fine-tuning the
Exactly.
minute details. Like,
Yes.
how do you want to say our vows?
Exactly.
That's a minor detail. I mean, it's a really big deal.
It's a big deal, but you don't need to do that, like, right away.
Right.
But in terms of some of, like, those bigger checklist items, I just didn't want to spend 10 months, like, arguing about whether this makes sense or whether
Right.
this is the right price or did we pick the wrong food? You know, I don't know. And so,
Right.
like, that I think drove Jason nuts because I'm just like, stay home with me for 5 minutes. Let's just hammer this out. I'm throwing ideas at you. If you honestly don't care, then I'm just going to make these decisions. But don't
Right.
come at me in 4 months and go, I don't know about that.
I don't know about balloons.
Yeah. Definitely. He was a little apprehensive because I think he just assumed, like,
Also, the
rainbow
picture that you
balloons.
drew sucked.
oh, no,
The
I
serpentine.
know. I didn't draw that.
Oh, the
That was a-
serpentine picture.
That was drawn on, like, PDF or CAD for me.
It wasn't great.
No,
At
I got it,
communicating.
but
Right.
yeah.
So then that turns people off because they're like, okay.
You're like, what is this?
Well, here's my question, my follow-up question. I'm stalling for time because I can't remember my follow-up question, so I'm just gonna keep.
I wrote all your
doing-
questions down.
No, none of those questions. I just thought of a
Oh.
spontaneous question.
Great.
Oh yeah, did you use any tools while you were planning, like
All
the not
seated.
checklist? All seated. Yes. Yes.
Oh my
I
God.
turned you onto that.
Oh,
All seated is
it's the
amazing.
best thing in the world.
For those of you who don't speak wedding language,
Which is 99%.
everyone, it is an online tool that's free to use, and you can upload or add your venue's pre-existing layout.
For the most part,
And then
pre-existing.
Yeah,
It was
I
a
mean,
little, like, not
updated
fully.
or
Well, I think like the
dimensions.
were a little off.
Right, but you can get a
But-
really good idea, and then you can add tables and chairs, and it already has like all of the objects on there. So it has
Yes.
like a 60-inch round with 8 chairs
Yep,
or a 72
inch with
room,
10 or 12. Yeah.
Yes, and then you can, once you have like a layout, you can number the tables, which is very important for catering if you're doing plated meals. It's
Yes.
very important for
your
if you're having for your guests, and then if you're having multiple table arrangements, and then you can assign people to tables or assign people to seats using that. So
I almost assign people to seats. I'm like,
it was so close
that was
it's fun.
I know,
And then it'll like tell you
fun.
how many chairs you have left,
Yes.
and it like highlights them when when someone's seated.
It's so great.
And you just keep going until they're all seated.
I did the 3D model too.
Oh, you did?
By the way, the linens do not come out well on that one, but
shoot,
it was fine.
that's okay. Upgrade option. Yeah. Okay. So you used all seated, which I have a course on too. If listeners are interested on how to use it, I can coach you through that. You can find a link in the show notes. What episode is this? Episode number 4. So it's undertheveil.co/episode 004. And that will be in the iTunes comment tag description.
You can do like a video of yourself.
Yes, it's a video of me being like, hi, let's get all seated for your wedding.
Nice.
And then I do like lots of hand gestures.
There's a lot of hand gestures.
And like,
a lot
here's
of
a
mouse
table.
clicking.
Yes.
Here's where you go, drop down.
Yes, screen share.
Yep.
All that jazz. Yes. What other tools did you use?
The not checklist, but otherwise.
And how did you feel about that, like with pacing? Because you said you kind of just were like.
I didn't really pay attention to it, even though they kept reminding me, like, this is past due. I'm like, it's not past due. I just refuse to like log in every time I do something and make sure that it's off my list. I mean, I wrote it down anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like it was just. Sometimes I think that it's a little outdated. Like there are so many. Did you get all of your bridesmaids gifts, or did you send all of them thank you notes? I'm like, whoa.
It's not necessarily for the modern bride who does things differently,
very differently.
Right? Or what if there's no bride and it's 2 grooms, right? So then everything's gonna remind you to get a dress.
What if you don't have anybody standing up with you? What if it's just the couple?
Yes. Or what if your like officiant is through the church, so you don't pay them?
Yeah.
All these little things. Yeah. So it's kind of like a guideline.
It's a nice guideline, but I feel like there should be a better like cut and paste version. Or you read it over as a bride and think, okay, I know that this is how our wedding is going to go. Like this is what we want.
Cross
off all the things you don't need.
Right.
And then just write it down somewhere else. Or like you said, cut and paste and just start a new one.
There is the checklist that I always suggest is through Aisle Planner, and that is also a free online planning tool that I have a tutorial for. And there's a little sorry. And what's great about it is, as a planner, I can go in and customize it for my clients. So that's obviously a benefit of hiring a wedding planner or day of coordinators, that they can help you with that checklist timeline. But then I also made a template for if there's 2 brides and if there's 2 grooms, and took out all of that verbiage and changed it so that you don't feel like you're being forced into a box. Like, actually, we don't have an engagement ring. We just have 2 wedding bands that we need insurance for, or whatever it is. And then on there, what they include, which I just think is kind of maybe speaks to who their main clientele is, but they have a lot of stuff about Jewish weddings. And so then
interesting.
Like I get rid of that because
not everybody.
That's not my clientele.
Right. Not mine.
Yarmulkes aren't really a thing.
That's definitely.
I had one Jewish wedding this year.
Have you?
Yeah. It was a riot.
I feel like they all go to a particular planner.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy.
Which is great. No, I mean, it's great. It's totally fine.
Amy's not
I wouldn't know
doing
anything
anymore.
about the tradition. I mean, you know.
Right.
Hire somebody. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. Ramble. Okay, so that bit you can only get on YouTube.
Yeah.
So how did you pick your wedding date? This was something Haley wanted to know. How did you pick your wedding date? Was
honestly,
it significant?
No. Well, later we figured out it was Jason's half birthday. Doesn't mean much in our world.
And that's why you had balloons.
That's why I had balloons. We actually wanted the Friday before, which would have been Friday the 13th.
Oh, you're so kooky.
I know. I don't know. October just seemed like a good month. It could have been hot. It could have been cold.
Right.
Probably, knock on wood, like the colors were going to be pretty. And
but indoor wedding.
Yeah, it didn't really matter.
You can take more risks.
But
more chances.
I don't know.
You just picked it.
I just kind of picked it.
Did you feel like, spring wedding, that's too quick from when you got engaged or were planning on being engaged?
Yes.
that kind of plays into
That would have been like 3 to 4 months.
and that's not enough time to plan a wedding.
No.
Happily.
Well, or easily. And you run the risk of, man, I mean, take you and me. We booked our venues before we got engaged.
Mhm.
And most likely half the people are probably doing that now.
Right. Especially now that non-traditional venues are booking so quickly. And non-traditional meaning not a church, not a hotel, not
Right.
a country club. And those things still book. I think
But-
most venues, okay, so
But you can find them a lot easier than
Yep.
a non. Yeah, and like when we went in there, like early October of last year, and we said, "Do you have Friday the 13th open?" They're like, "Actually, we don't." Like, what? How do I?
like who's
Over a
picking
year
that?
from now, you already have Friday the
Right.
13th, and we wanted a Friday because we felt that if people were coming from out of town, they weren't going to like rush in either Friday night or Saturday morning and then rush home on Sunday, or people, had still have the opportunity to like enjoy the rest of their weekend.
Or visit. And since you had a smaller guest count that you were aiming for, I think a Friday wedding deters just people coming just because they can.
Yep.
It makes them really think, do we really want to go to this wedding?
Right.
And that's what you want people to think before they
Like, do I
RSVP,
really
yes
want
or
to do
no.
this on a Friday night? Like,
Yeah. And not
Preferably
anything
some of you I wish
mean.
hadn't, but yeah.
Not anything mean
Can we edit
about
that
like
part
how
out?
you feel about them or how they feel about you. Nothing's getting edited. Nobody can hear Ian in our heads.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, and then when you inquired with the venue, you said that Friday was booked. So then they had other dates available.
Yeah.
So you were already like, no, we really want to have it on a Friday.
Mhm.
So then you were like, okay, what other Fridays? And it was either going to be
It was like
earlier,
the
like
next.
August.
No, it was later
Okay.
because they
And-
were pretty booked through August and September.
Yeah, good for them.
Well, I guess for Fridays. Otherwise, the options were maybe Saturdays, and we really,
You weren't feeling it.
also Friday weddings usually are a little bit cheaper. I mean,
Right.
in terms of the venue,
rental.
not for everything else.
Nothing else changes.
Nothing else changes.
Nothing else changes, brides and grooms.
Right.
When
You
when
maybe
you get a
save
Friday
a little.
wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
Because any day, people can get married.
I know.
Okay. What about, do you have any advice that you want to give, particularly pertaining to planning a wedding? That was a good alliteration. In the fall or in the city. So we already kind of talked about transportation. For the fall, I mean, things to think about, right? Or weather.
I mean, if you want an outdoor wedding in the fall, be prepared that it could not. I mean,
If
it
you're
could be
in the
snowing
upper part
or
of
hot.
the U.S.
Yeah,
If you're in Arizona,
it's
Tits
probably going to
McGee,
be
that's
hot.
probably perfect.
Yeah,
In October,
I feel like, but
70.
although it was like
I don't know.
100 degrees half in like Southern California for half the fall. I feel
Also
like.
global warming. So
Right.
none of this advice applies.
Good luck. You're all on your own.
But things to think about are the weather.
The
If you're
weather.
going to be, even if you don't get married outside, right? Your reception and your ceremony were inside, but you still went outside to take pictures.
Right.
And not even family photos.
And if you
'cause it
don't
was too
have,
windy.
if there's no parking that's available nearby, like, are people going to pull up, have valet so that they don't have to be in the rain or snow or deal with oppressive heat?
Oppressive heat.
My
Right.
cousins got married on the month before us on that Friday, the 22nd of September, when it was 95 degrees. And
Yeah.
everything was inside, but they wanted some photos out. I'm like, oh, God.
For a hot second.
So glad.
I had a really hot
Ugh.
July wedding, and yes, it was hot in
It's
the
bad.
shade. It was hot in the shade.
Yeah.
And
And people think tents are great, and tents are great, but when it's 95 degrees and the sun is just barreling down,
right.
have a plan B too. Like, have some
Also,
fans.
Yeah, fans or a mister.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone's going to want to use a mister, but it does cool the air temperature around
Right.
it, or so physics would tell us.
You'd think.
And then if you have kids at your wedding, then they'll all, okay, if not Hannah's wedding has kids, but
I mean, I didn't even have my niece at my wedding.
I know.
I was like, listen, Ellie, I love you. Actually, my brother didn't tell her that she wasn't coming to the
There's no wedding. What are you talking about?
I
Ellie?
know.
What-
Mom and Dad are just taking a trip.
Yeah.
Psych, Golly and Peepa, and your Aunt Hannah and Jason are.
Everyone's going to be there.
Yeah. Sorry,
Except for
Elle.
you.
I'm 3 years old. I know this is going to be devastating.
Yes, but you could get away with that because you didn't have family members with young kids.
Right.
Don't you feel like? Because then what if, like, my sister-in-law just had a baby? Well, that seems a little
Then
harsh.
don't come. I mean, I don't know. I hate to say that, but like, A, it costs more money for the more people you feed.
Right.
B, it's not, I mean, I would expect it to not be fun myself, having to bring
Right.
a child and like worry about what if the kid gets sick, or what if
It's going to be loud. Where
Right.
do I breastfeed?
what if I'm
What if-
exhausted.
Is there a receptacle for poopy diapers, or do I have to carry it around in my bag the whole day? Like,
Composting bag.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Is that a thing?
maybe.
Moms everywhere are like, you don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. I definitely don't.
Yes, but something to think about. Or if it's the right venue, right? Like those barn venues are great because there's so much wide open space.
Yep.
And then there's nothing really around. Like it's not like they can go like run down the street. 'Cause
No,
it's a
but like
dirt,
in the
gravel
city,
road.
it's a little tough. Like you can't. I mean, kids just
There's not space for
No.
them. And then what do they do? And then what if
Right.
one parent has to leave early? What about vehicle stuff for that? Are they staying at a hotel nearby?
afraid. Are they driving? I mean, how is somebody else getting home? Like,
Right. Right.
what happens if you all, you stayed at the hotel and the shuttle isn't ready to come back? Just a lot of factors. But
I feel like this is like another instance where I should use the dad example. Like, Dad, can you take the child and
yeah,
back to the hotel? And
unless your dad's in the wedding.
yes.
I mean, I don't know.
The other thing to think about, if you have
anti-kids at
kids, if you have kids at your wedding, guaranteed you're not going to be able to hear all of the ceremony.
No. And also maybe offer the idea of finding sitters, whether it's at, a hotel or somebody's house, or
Right.
even at the venue itself.
Yeah.
Like if the venue, allows to have like a smaller space with, that's maybe a little like kind of closed off a
With
bit.
kid stuff.
Yeah. But most likely that's not going to happen at a non-traditional venue. I guess like a country club, social club is a little easier, I feel like.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean,
It's
take into
tough.
consideration that, yes, you're offering for people to not have to worry about daycare and if you want to provide it, but also know that it's going to get loud and it's going to get messy.
Yes.
And it's not because your friends drank 5 bottles of Glenlivet before 10:30. That happened at my wedding.
It did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Good job, friends. Did not notice. They seem so well behaved.
There were a couple. There were definitely a couple.
that were.
Yeah. Yeah. There was like, yeah.
Everyone
go
was,
deep into that
everyone
one,
was
but-
good.
No,
give
there
them a
wasn't anybody
thumbs
out of
up.
control, but there were definitely a few people where I'm like, should you continue drinking? Like,
Yeah.
there are some photos I had to hide from the public view.
And this one doesn't go on Facebook.
And we know that one's not sober.
I always think about that when I'm looking at pictures. Would this bridesmaid be mad if she saw this picture of herself? Because the bride looks so great,
I know.
but then you've got a sloppy face. What about doing pictures? So you did pictures outside, which were amazing, and on the rooftop?
We didn't go. It was so windy.
Oh yeah, it was
that
so windy.
Preston was like, I mean, we can go, but it's gonna
Not
get
be great.
It's gonna be a lot.
So doing pictures in the city versus where did you take your engagement photos?
The Arboretum.
And do you like, having both sets of backdrops?
I do. One, Jason loves he loves plants and flowers, and he's like the green thumb. He loves nature. So I felt the Arboretum was really fun, and we've been members there forever, and it was the perfect time of like, we had that late fall or late summer.
Yeah.
Things were so pretty. It was quiet. I don't do like public. I just can't be.
Like, everyone, look, I'm taking pictures.
I know. Like,
Yeah.
also, like, I just didn't want to go to some of the places that everybody goes to. Like, great, the Swin Arch Bridge is beautiful, but
Right.
I mean,
it's super busy.
it's busy, and I'm not a public person when it comes to that.
Yeah. So
I
it was
don't
a
need
good
to be
balance.
involved. It was a nice balance. And also with the photos at the wedding day, I mean, the building itself, like in and out, was perfect.
Yes.
And I felt like we just didn't need to go anywhere else.
And kudos to those photographers who can make a garage door look good.
That was a cool photo.
Those are some of my favorite.
Those were really
or like
fun.
just against brick.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
I know.
if I take that picture, it looks like butthole.
I do
but-
wish like we'd had a few more in the actual building, but just
Yeah.
because of the balloons, man.
Yeah.
I really love those balloons. I mean, he took a lot of photos of the balloons, so like, I was definitely putting some of those in an album because I'm like, this is so
Yes.
cool.
Okay, you are gonna do an album.
Yeah.
You're gonna make it yourself.
Yeah, so we get a complimentary one from Preston. And then I'm hoping that like when I get the USB of all the photos, I'm just going to make an album of
And then every month you'll be like, and this was my balloon palooza.
Balloonapalooza. Oh, God.
Okay, so wrapping up, what is one piece of advice that you really want brides and grooms to hear?
Oh, it is about you guys. I cannot stress enough that trying to make everybody happy is just never going to work. And then you're not going to be happy yourself.
Right.
I don't know, like the number of people that felt like they needed to give their opinion to us, or that's kind of why I was like super hush hush. I'm like, listen, I'm not like here to impress everybody in the respect of like this is going to be the best wedding ever, but I'm here to say like this is our personality. This is the day that we're super excited to become husband and wife, and like I don't really give a flying F what the rest of you expect it to be.
Right.
Like that's not
Like
what
you're gonna have a good experience.
right. I'm not here to entertain you in that respect. Like I'm not hosting a dinner party. I'm
getting married.
and I view like being invited to somebody's wedding as like an honor. Like that means that they think of me as like a close enough family or
Right.
friend or relative that like they want me to be a part of their big day. But people who just feel the need to say like, well, don't you think you should do this? Or is your officiant really like, Universal Life Church? Is that really real? Which somebody did ask me that. I'm like, oh my God, all that really matters is that we sign the marriage certificate. And really, it's
Also-
the state that does it ahead of time.
Yes.
We're already okay.
Also, you're a wedding planner. If anyone would know stuff, like
It's us.
shouldn't they like have confidence that you already know all
Right.
these things?
Like, I'm
That's
just not
asking
having
an
Joe
insurance
Schmo.
agent. Like, well, are you sure you're covered?
Do
It's
you
like,
know? Yeah. I don't know.
know
I
this
think
stuff.
people just do not. I think a lot of brides and grooms, a lot of couples just assume that they need to have their family's opinions and friends' opinions. And I don't know. I think I was told by a couple people like, oh, don't you think you should invite this person? I'm like, I mean, I've thought about it, but I'm good without it. And they're clearly good without it.
Right.
And I'm not going to invite somebody just to invite somebody.
But what it kind of sounds like to me is that you're saying like maybe giving your opinion is one thing, but what it more often comes off as is criticism.
Yeah, very.
And nitpicking and making you
Second guess everything and like
guess your decisions and breaking down your confidence instead of saying, oh, that's so fun. I haven't seen a wedding with balloons. I can't wait to see yours.
Right.
Like I'm so excited for you. Oh, that sounds interesting. What do you want for your wedding?
Right.
Just
I know.
you don't need to make people feel bad about the choices they're making for their wedding.
No,
'cause it's their wedding.
It's their wedding.
It can be anything they want it to be, and that's I think obviously we always maybe have to bite our tongues when brides and grooms are like, well, we're gonna do one buffet line for 300 people, and like we can give our advice like, just so you know, it might take a little bit longer than what you want it to be, and guests might be hungry, and they're like, nope, this is what we can afford. It's like, okay. So then on the day of, like, I'm going to be pulling out my best jokes to distract people from the fact that it's 45 minutes until they get their dinner.
God, I've had that before.
But that's the thing. It's like, that's
they
their
want
wedding,
what they want,
their
and
money.
Yes.
Support them.
Yep. But also just be respectful of it too.
Right. And wedding guests, if any wedding guests are listening, please stop complaining at weddings.
I mean, this is awful, and maybe this should be edited out. You're getting a free meal and a free party.
And you're celebrating love.
Right. And it's not about you
Don't
today.
bring the hate.
Not about you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. But I do. I think like a lot of like couples think that they have to make everybody else, feel happy.
Don't.
And you're like, no. And if somebody's unhappy, that's on them. If
That's on
somebody's in a bad,
them.
I mean, I don't know. If somebody doesn't have a good time, that's on you as the guest.
Maybe go request your favorite song.
Right.
Like maybe that will cheer you up.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, then that maybe there's some other
Maybe go
issues
home.
there. I know. Maybe just go
Just
home.
go home.
Don't
I'll
be
drive
a Debbie
you.
Downer.
Okay, so we haven't really talked about your wedding planning company. So
Oh yeah.
why don't you give us a little spiel?
H. Blair Events. Started a few years ago. I was working with a friend in a different event company, but I've just always, I'm an A-type personality, and I've always loved planning things
And being organized.
and being super organized.
Execution.
Yeah.
That's my drive.
But mostly, and I think this is like one of the reasons why I really like love this sort of industry that we're in, is I love. I'm a creative, but like not like on paper. Like I can't draw on anything. But I
And here's a
love like
box.
going through the process with a couple and figuring out their personality and watching them react to how like hints of their personalities come out in that process.
Right.
And I think that's what's cool is that like I can be there to help execute it, or like I had, was great with some of our vendors saying like, listen, we see your vision, like maybe not go this way, like here's some suggestions. And
Right.
for me, like, that is so much fun. That's one of the reasons why I got into it, is like being able to help plan and see a creative side come out that you wouldn't normally see.
Right.
Like my cousins who got married in September, they're huge Harry Potter fans. My cousin lived in London, and like it could have gone crazy and like so out of control, but it was subtle, and like all of the table numbers were London tube station names.
Cool.
And they had like, their are they houses? School? What are the
Yeah.
house of, was it House of Slytherin or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Like their cufflinks were the names of like the houses that they loved, and they just had little subtle pieces, and it was so fun being like, hey, let's take this theme
We like Harry Potter.
and run with it, but not like run a marathon with it, like like a 5K.
We're not having a birthday party. We're
I know.
having a wedding.
Like, we don't need, like, nothing needs to be.
We're not going to pass out scarves.
Right. Although that would have been kind of cool. Although at 95 degrees, it was definitely not needed.
Not needed.
Yeah.
Awesome. And where can listeners go to find H Blair events?
hblairevents.com
Dun, dun, dun,
and on
dun.
Instagram, which I'm really terrible about posting.
But now that you
now that
said it,
yeah,
you're going to be like, post every day. Holla.
I know. I know.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up. I
Yep.
always end with a high five. So thank you, Hannah. And we're done.
Thanks, babe.